Hi, good to be back. Now, before I begin, I would like to start off with a question. Now, it's safe to assume that we all love to breathe, we all love to live life. And one of the things we typically look over is the fact that we can breathe without help, and not everyone has that luxury. Now, this brings me to the question, why would you physically want to give that up? My name is Picardo Prioli, and I'm going to be talking to you today about the damages that smoking can do to you and why you really shouldn't do it in the first place. First and foremost, smoking directly affects your body, in a negative way, of course. In particular, it affects your lungs, your respiratory system. Now, typically, when someone decides to smoke, they don't really think about this side effect. But what you're really inhaling are all these kinds of chemicals like nicotine and just toxins in your body. And the fact of the matter is, they do damage on the way down. Eventually, it gets to the point where it just starts to damage your all types of lung tissue, and it damages your respiratory tract in itself. And once that gets that bad, you won't be able to breathe the way you used to. Typically, when people say the term smoker's cough, that's where that comes from. The damage gets so bad to the point where there's a lingering cough and that you really can't get rid of. Another thing is about basically you can get all types of respiratory diseases because of this. Things like pneumonia, bronchitis, and even lung cancer, which are all deadly in their own right. Another thing that's affected is the heart. Now, according to healthline.com, nicotine causes blood vessels to tighten, which restricts blood flow. Now, typically when your blood flow is restricted like this, you're more prone to get things like peripheral artery disease and even have a heart attack itself. Now, it doesn't just affect the inside of your body as a whole, it affects the outside too. You can see symptoms. Certain people that smoke, they have typically more yellow fingernails from using the product so much. You can see it in your skin oftentimes. You're more prone to get skin cancer, and you're more prone to get fungal infections also. So it's not just the inside, it affects the outside appearance as well. Now, with all that going on physically, let's look at what's on in reality. Now, the reality is it gives you a financial and a social burden in a sense. Now, in terms of financial burdens, you're basically wasting money on cigarettes. You're wasting your money on these things that you typically don't need. It's a meaningless expense in a sense. Now, the average price varies, but it's about $6.28 in the US approximately. But if you add that up, you get about 188 a month. And you can take it a step further and see annually that you'll be spending at least $2,200. It's just not worth it. And one of the things you got to think about is that what else could you be doing with that money other than wasting it on cigarettes? Now, that also brings me to the fact of social burdens. Typically, when someone decides to smoke, they isolate themselves to do it on their own. Now, if you ever wondered why that is, here's why. Typically, places of business, restaurants, the workplace, things that typically the public are allowed to go to, they don't allow smoking. They don't allow it inside or even around the vicinity. Now, typically, what smokers have to do, they have to isolate themselves, go to a different location to smoke, and then if they want to, they can come back. That's typically how it works. Why? That's because of secondhand smoke. It's just as deadly, if not deadlier, than smoking itself, and it could be harmful to the people around them. So, with that in mind, that's typically why. And let's say you're out on a trip with your friends. You know your friends don't smoke, but you do. Now, what you would have to do, you would have to leave where your friends are. You would have to leave the fun, go sit by yourself, smoke, and come back. Now, to me, that would just be a waste. And one of the biggest reasons too, one of the biggest examples is that the people who have kids, typically you're not supposed to smoke around your kid, because in a sense their lung capacity and the way their lungs are set up, it's not developed yet completely. So exposing them to things like secondhand smoke could even be deadly to them. For those of you that have kids, must be aware of this. Now, this brings me to my final reason, and to an abrupt end. Eventually, no matter how you split it, if someone continues to smoke, the only thing that's waiting for them is death. There's no real way around it. According to the CDC, there are about 480,000 deaths annually, including those that have been caused by secondhand smoke. So in turn, this can really be avoided just simply by not starting it in the first place. Now, to be blunt, this really can kill you, which is why me personally, I'm not for smoking or any kind of cigarette product or tobacco product. I'm personally not for that, because I know that it does nothing for you. There are no benefits. There are no true benefits of smoking in itself. Picture it like this. Let's say smoke the choice to smoke is like a contract. What you need to do is you need to sign, but you forget to read the fine print. And what it says in the fine print is that, one, it'll affect your body. It'll break you down from the inside out. And if that's not bad enough, it'll burn a hole in your pocket, leaving you with less of this and more of this. And if that's not worse enough, it basically keeps you away from those you love, one step at a time. And if that's not worse enough, to top it off, you could even die. You could lose your life. Now, that being said, would you still want to sign? Would you still want to sign your life away? Thank you.